Hello everybody, welcome back. Today I'm going to be doing a video on the new Shining Sarcophagus support announced for Alliance Insight in the OCG. It was announced early this morning here in Australia, so I'll show off what the card, I'll explain what the card does and how it fits into the deck. It's a very self-explanatory card because of its effect. It pretty much makes itself an instant 3 of, and so the card is, I don't know exactly what it's called, but it's a Dark Magician Girl variation for the Shining Sarcophagus deck. Essentially what it says is you can discard a card to special summon it from your hand, so it's a free, it's an extender with a discard, and on summon it can activate its effect to search for Shining Sarcophagus specifically, only Shining Sarcophagus. But I think just from the way that, just from my testing with the deck, definitely I'd play it 3. Because your deck lives and dies by Shining Sarcophagus. So, I mean, if you open this, cool, you just search a second copy for potential follow-up if you need it. But, yeah, searching Shining Sarcophagus is fantastic and necessary. So the deck really values this as an extender. What it unfortunately doesn't do is it doesn't do anything to increase the deck's kind of ceiling or resilience or anything. I mean, kind of resilience, because if your Gadget Trio gets stopped and you have no access to Shining Sarcophagus, you can kind of just throw the Dark Magician down and then you can keep playing, similar to how, like, you know, if you stop a Diabell Star, then you can follow up with a Bonfire, and you're essentially doing the same thing. So the cards are all kind of intertwining and searching all the same things, but it just allows, I mean, Shining Sarcophagus deck is doing this in a much fairer way than what Snake Eye Diabell Star was doing for sure. But so it has another effect where it gains 300 attack for each monster that mentions Shining Sarcophagus in the graveyard. Probably an effect that's going to be fairly irrelevant, as most of your monsters don't often end up in the graveyard. They tend to get banished by Gandora's effect. So, yeah, the second effect's pretty negligible, but it's the main thing is to summon itself and search. I mean, it's free extender. There's a cool line where you could go something like summon this, search this, and then use Shining Sarcophagus to search for Archfiend's Advent, which can be normal summon without tributing at this point. So you do actually get an instant rank 6. This way. It does cost your normal summon, but it's certainly something you can do also. So it's not terrible. I mean, I haven't thought about any rank 6s that I really want to play at this point. Because, I mean, if you're searching this, it means you must have another way to play. So maybe there's a world where you can combine this with Fiendsmith. I've already been thinking about how you combine this with other decks, because one of the kind of glaring flaws with the Shining Sarcophagus deck does come in the form of the Gandora, because the Gandora wipes all of the cards on the field except for pretty much Shining Sarcophagus and itself. And so the issue that we have is that you banish all of the cards, and most of these really cool engines that you could be playing, like Kashtira, like Horus, like Bestials, they all rely on a continuous spell that kind of sits on the field. So think Branded Regained, Kashtira Birth, Crimson Gaia, even King Sarcophagus. Like, these are all cards that sit on the field, and you don't really want Gandora banishing them. It's just, I mean, it doesn't always come up, but it's nice to have a deck that kind of doesn't really conflict with other things. So I'm opted to play this Gandora. I mean, I've always opted to play the Shining Sarcophagus deck. I'm in a fairly pure capacity. One thing I want to test though is Fiendsmith, is because most of the cards end up in the graveyard. I mean, yeah, once your Caesar has used its negation, sure, you can banish it after that point, that's fine. But maybe there's a world where we could do Fiendsmith with this deck. And I mean, now that we've got more access to rank 6s, I mean, Fiendsmith helps with 6s too. There's things we could do potentially, but otherwise, yeah, we're definitely playing 3 of the new Dark Magician Girl. And we're certainly playing that alongside 3 copies of Gadget Trio. Gadget Trio being on normal summon to search for, or normal or special to search for a spell trap that mentions Shining Sarcophagus or Shining Sarcophagus. So can search plenty of different options with that. Then for our other 1-card starters, Shining Sarcophagus, of course, is a 1-card starter, and so is the Future Silence, because that searches any monster, can search these, which gets you to Shining Sarcophagus as well. So 12 1-card starters now instead of 9, which is nice. I mean, you could always increase that to 18, right? If you played like the Super Heavy Samurais, for example, they get you to a Machine rank 4, which gets you to Gadget Trio, so that's definitely an option as well. Something I haven't tested yet, but certainly might in the future. For our supporting cast, of course, we're playing the 2 Gandora. Gandora is a very important piece of the deck. It's your, obviously, big nuke going second, which is fantastic. If this effect resolves, you're probably in a good spot. One card you don't necessarily have to play is the Dark Magician monster here, and you play him alongside a spell trap potentially. So I mean, you don't have to play this. I'm opting to, just because setting up Dragoon is just so obnoxious. And Dragoon, funnily enough, can sit on the field when you nuke Gendora, so that's really nice too. Having cards that kind of work under Gendora, which is what none of these engines really tend to do. One card I am really liking is Archfiend's Advent. I was not a fan of this when it was first announced, but having just an additional normal summon alongside Gadget Trio that can pick apart boards. I mean, yes, we do have Gendora to nuke them, but sometimes this comes up a lot, and just being a guy that can boost attack is also pretty useful. Our other two kind of dud draws are Magician Zero and Swordsman Zero. We're playing these for the ties that bind. So this is our kind of main interruption going first. Yes, there's a world where you can set up the Dragoon combo too if you open like any two starters, or Gendora or Dark Magician. So any two Sarcophagus cards, generally you can do the Dragoon play, which is nice. I mean, Dragoon's obviously it's a good card, but you're kind of putting all your eggs in one basket where, if that play gets stopped, you have nothing. I mean, same with ties that bind. I mean, if this gets stopped, you have nothing. And that's just the issue with the deck, right? It's a fairly low ceiling deck. It's not worth playing more ties that bind, I don't think. But, I mean, sometimes you can get to Dragoon and ties that bind. Sometimes. Depends on how good your hand is and what your opponent's doing. And the last two cards are Turn Silence. Now, this is probably one of my favorite cards in the deck. It's just a quick effect monster negation, essentially, by boosting the monster's level by 3. This is solid, really solid. A huge fan of this card. I mean, you could maybe play it at 1, but opening it is nice. I don't think you'd play 3 because it's pretty specific. You need to have Shining Sarcophagus and a monster that mentions it. So yeah, like one of these kind of needs to resolve to get the other so that this is online. But sometimes you end up just searching this off of Gadget Trio. If you already opened Sarcophagus, yeah, this is just a nice card to have and add to the kind of going first things you can do, but also going second is great. I mean, if you get to Gendora and you activate its effect to nuke the board and they have one piece that stops it, you can just chain Turn Silence and get Gendora to resolve. If Gendora resolves, you're looking pretty good. But that is the Shining Sarcophagus portion of the deck. Definitely made more consistent by the Dark Magician Girl card that has been announced. Now for non-engine, we're playing 3 Pot of Extravagance. Of course, we're playing these cards all in max rarity, being premium gold rare. We don't really need our extra deck, so we're playing Pot of Extravagance. We're playing Super Poly. Super Poly is a card we can play because we have no use for our extra deck. Can be useful in like battle phase to, I mean, you can just summon Dragoon using the Dark Magician monster and Gendora, which is nice. And then the rest of the nodes, I mean, really, you can play whatever you like. I'm just like, most of the cards I'm playing is are fairly weaker cards. They're not necessarily super meta specific. I'm only playing these cards because I use this deck more for casual settings at locals when I know I'm playing against people who are maybe learning the game, or are playing a deck that is significantly less in power than less powerful than something in the meta. So I'm just playing just random spells. So like I'm playing Chalice. This is Book of Eclipse. Book of Eclipse is okay in the meta. Obviously now with twins, Eclipse Twins, Book of Eclipse loses some application. Enemy Controller is a pretty good card going second, of course, and then Imperm is just a decent card to draw as well. So like a lot of these cards are cards that kind of like can be used proactively. Book is good to, again, help Gendora resolve. There's a world where you can play Book of Moon as well if you want to. So yeah, just the cards that kind of help Gendora resolve. Another card you could play over, like Econ can do the same thing, right? You can tribute Gendora if it's trying to activate its effect, and that's pretty nice. Forbidden Droplet does the same thing too. That's the main deck. That's 40 cards, and the extra deck is nothing too crazy. If you started playing some of these other engines, like you could play Dogmatica cards, then your extra deck, you could use it for more things, and you can cut Extravagance, but this is just mainly for Extravagance at the moment. So I've got 3 Dragoon, 1 Dark Magician and Dragon Knight to protect your spell traps. No, it's not bad. Earth Golem and Dragostopelia, these are just for Super Poly, and then Garuru is for Super Poly, Blood Dragon is for Super Poly, a Typhon, if I had more, you'd probably play this in more copies, maybe SP in more copies. And Phoenix, I mean, you could play a rank 4 for like follow-up plays. Yeah, there's lots of things you can play. This is just again, this deck is mainly just used for like casual local settings. I don't normally have like my SP or my Typhon in this deck. It's just a thing I do for just for the profile really, but normally it's just random rank 4s. But otherwise, that is the updated deck profile for Shining Sarcophagus. Maybe we'll see some more support announced in Alliance Insight, which would be kind of cool. I'd love to see a card that protects the Shining Sarc monsters from being destroyed or banished potentially, because that obviously then helps, well, not banished, but like can bring them back from banished or can stop them from being destroyed, because that way, you know, one kind of, you know, primary issue with the deck is that if you ever get to a point where you've got, you know, you've summoned these both off of the ties that bind and you've got a Gandora and you kind of want to nuke the board, you kind of feel like you're not allowed to, because then you end up nuking these guys and you don't get them back, which is rough. So yeah, something to kind of like protect them from destruction would be pretty cool. I know there's the trap card, but that doesn't really work the way it's meant to for what you'd be wanting to use it for. But otherwise, that is the deck profile. Like I said, looking forward to, you know, playing with this new support once it comes out, and see if we get some more cards. Catch you in the next one.